Good morning, this is Morning Reel, hosted by yours truly, Ray Salazar. If I see it, I review it. This is a 3 to 4 to 100 minute or so podcast of films that I review, from black and white to Technicolor, from 16 millimeter to VistaVision, from Indonesia to Chihuahua, Mexico, from El Salvador to the lowest place in Alaska. Whatever films are made and how diabolical, how angelic they are, I see it and I review it. Now, this film is not a special film, but it is a special film. It's not special to me, but it's special to the culture. Um, it's a biographical film. I mean, if you clicked on this review, you know what I'm talking about. We're talking about Selena. It's a 1997 American biographical music drama film about Selena Quintanilla-Pérez, who, as we all know, is Selena. She's the very famous Tejana music star who just was about to cross over or had crossed over, and her life ended very shortly by, we all know, Yolanda Saldivar, who I think is about to get released from prison, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what's up with that, but major controversy there. Anyways, this film is written and directed by Gregory Nava. I'm just gonna go down the whole freaking production line here. Not all of it, but key parts. Here we go. Directed by, written by Gregory Nava. If you guys don't know who Gregory Nava is, do some homework on that guy. Watch El Norte, which is, to me, probably one of the greatest films about immigration, even though it's like, as far as fiction is concerned, you know, like, I'm pretty sure documentaries are real and all that stuff, but as far as like fiction is concerned, and when it deals with immigration and how to try to succeed in America when you're just an immigrant from a third world country such as Guatemala, Mexico, Salvador, Honduras, what have you, El Norte is, man, powerful. And it's funny because I didn't see that film in film school. I saw that film in 8th grade from my art teacher, who was an asshole. Anyways, let's go down the line. Produced by, and not only that, Gregory Nava written and directed Mi Familia. He also directed countless other films, such as A Time of Destiny, Why Do Fools Fall in Love. He wrote the screenplay for Frida, which we all know is a pretty, controversial film. Anyways, starring Jennifer Lopez, Edward James Olmos, John Seda, Constance Marie, Jacob Vargas, Lupe Ontiveros, and Jackie Guerra, just to name a few. Cinematography by Edward Lachman, edited by Nancy Richards-Dunn. Music by Dave Grusin. Production company Q Productions. If anybody knows who Q Productions is, Q Productions is a Latin music entertainment company founded by Abraham Quintanilla. So yes, in some weird way, this is an independent funded film for the most part, right? Because, I mean, they got distributed by Warner Brothers. I'm pretty sure Warner Brothers gave them that nice sweet budget of $20 million that was a box office hit of $35.7 million. This film came out on March 21st, 1997. As we all know, Selena Quintanilla-Pérez was, assassinated on March 31st, 1995. So definitely over 2 years or so. It's funny, man. I've seen this film a couple of times in my life. Obviously, as a child. I don't know if I can remember, but I think I remember going to the theater and seeing this film. Then again, I can't count on that. But I'm pretty sure I saw it on TV countless, well, not countless, right? But just a sort of amount of times where and it's crazy because I wasn't into film then. I was just a kid into like games and toys and all this stuff, Pokemon. Never about Selena. I mean, I was more into like Mana, maybe some Jaguares, and maybe some like some hip hop or whatnot. But yeah, that was my life then, as far as I remember. But I remember watching this film as I grew older and how of an impactful film it is, especially during the third act of the film. And this is me already knowing about Selena, about like her life and the whole scandal and everything, and very sad. My condolences to her and her family and all that. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're, not to sound messed up, but they are reaping the benefits of her, you know. There's a lot of controversy with this family, but I'm not talking about controversy here. I'm talking about legacy through this film. This film is great. It's a great film. Already, I would just put it out there before I forget. 3.5 out of 4 tokes. Yes, 3.5 out of 4. And I'll tell you quickly why, man. And a lot of it really has to do with Gregory Nava's direction. Like, this guy knows how to direct a film. He knows how to highlight a film, its highs and its lows, right? Like, he knows how to deal with the crazy things that happen in a film. The casting is good too, man. You got Jennifer Lopez, who at this time in her life, in her career, she still wasn't like the pop star that we know, the household name that we kind of know, I guess, you know. Then we got a OG actor like Edward James Olmos. We got Constance Marie, who plays Edward James Olmos' wife and mother of their kids, you know. And man, I gotta give it to Edward James Olmos, man. Like, he kills every role he's in. And it's funny because he was almost considered directing this film, and who knows what kind of film it would have been if he fucking stepped on that chair, right? But hey, Gregory Nava, who's very seasoned, has dealt with a lot of films that deal with family, and that's the thing that, which I feel is like necessary for him to direct this film, because he's the type of filmmaker who really centers the plots around family, family issues. But not only the family though, not and it's funny because like the whole point is about family and making it in life, making it in America, you know, because a lot of this film deals with like ethnic, socioeconomic issues, especially in like in the state of Texas, Corpus Christi or whatnot. There was a backstory to this stuff, like who is Selena? Why is Selena Selena? Where did she come from? And he gives us the big scoop in like 20 minutes, right? Where Abraham, when he was growing up, when he wanted to be a star, he had a band and they play in Mexico, and all the Mexicans booed them because he wasn't in touch with his roots, which at that time he was. It wasn't there in his psyche as a teenager at that time, or let's just say a very young adult, like in his 20s or whatnot, right? Like, club manager or the club owner told him like, hey man, they want to hear their stuff. They don't want to hear this doo-wop stuff, right? But as persistent Abraham was, it didn't work out. But it's like he planted a seed into his life, into his legacy, right? Which, you know, he has children, and he has 3 children. He has the children that a mother could wish for, even though the mother didn't want him doing anything but music, you know. And because it's funny how you see family in this film, right? And like the American dream. And that's the thing about Selena, is especially when you're watching the first, even like to the middle of the second act, we see the American dream, the idea of the American dream, which is a family trying to make it with their means, trying to go through all these obstacles, which obviously are human beings, right? And who controlled that country back then? Reaganomics. How Reagan just kind of changed everything when it came to economics, and gave a a continuing voice to America and the people who especially vote for him. A lot of Republicans back in the day. I mean, I'm not gonna go through the politics of Reagan and all this stuff, but you can kind of see, especially how Abraham always brings up the notion of how, you know, our people are at the, not to say at the bottom, but like it takes a lot more for a Latino, especially in America, whether they're I mean, I'm pretty sure it's more feasible to attain things when you're a citizen or whatnot than an immigrant. And he just gives game to his kids about life and about the struggle. And it's funny because how well written the script is. These kids already know what their dad is all about, but Edward James Olmos playing Abraham Quintanilla is just a dad being a dad, and he plays it so good. I mean, dude, I don't know why. I don't know, dude, but this film was Graham. This film was nominated for a Golden Globe for J Lo, for being Best Actress. But honestly, they could have given this one or a Golden Globe nomination at least to Edward James Olmos playing Abraham Quintanilla, but like not because he's playing Abraham Quintanilla, and it's not the fact that he embodied Abraham Quintanilla, but just the sole fact that almost always puts everything to his roles, man. Like you can see it. You can see it in Mi Familia. You can see it in other films such as The Zoot Suits. And in this film, playing a dad, and you can feel Edward James Olmos' character. He's playing his version of Abraham, but it's almost not Abraham. It's like almost playing almost, and you believe him. You really believe these characters, especially Abraham's character. You really believe somebody who's just been crapped on life by the big corporations, small time business, music, all these American things, all these things that an American person, and I'm not saying like a white American or whatever, just an American period, he feels he's been owed that, and he really gambled with his life, man. And it's crazy because I don't know, seeing it right now at this age and at this time, you could see a man who really just gave it his all, struggled, put his family through it, and a lot of people might criticize him as being an asshole, but in his own way, in his own weird freaking way, he got what he wanted. And yeah, in some weird way, he kind of used his kids, but at the same time, like, look, man, he kept his kids off the streets. They didn't do drugs, they weren't like scoring alcohol. They grew up to be very successful and responsible people to his own right. That's great. For Abraham and Marcella to keep the family together, man, that's a pretty crazy thing. Again, family dynamics, American dynamic. What is the typical family? What is the ideal family? What is the ideal American dream? Is not to have all the money in the world, but like to live within your means, right? But like at the same time, you can grow your legacy, and that's what Abraham wanted. Really, he wanted a legacy. He knew that he wanted a legacy, and as soon as he saw Selena sing and all that stuff, he knew that the legacy was there. It was just a matter of actually putting the work in, making that dream come to actual fruition. And he knew that this was an opportunity he was just not gonna let go at all, even if it breaks the family, even if he had to sell the house. He did what he could, but he knew what was gonna happen because, again, American dream, chasing the white picket fence, comfortable living, not having to work so hard, in a sense, being your own boss, being your own, like, everything. And shoot, when you see Abraham along the line in the film during the like second and third act, you can see a man in control. He's a powerful being. He's very intimidating at times, but that's just because he's worked his whole freaking life to get where he's at, and he's not gonna let nobody ruin that. Especially John said that playing Chris Perez is all we know, that Chris Perez ended up marrying Selena and all that stuff. And obviously we gotta see, like, how did they meet? How did they have their first kiss or their first conversation? We get to see all that stuff, and it's pretty cool. There's a lot of fun moments in this film because obviously, there's gotta be things to push the story forward, the narrative forward. There's gotta be some cool and funny, quirky parts. I'll do anything for Selena's. That part was cool. Trying to get the bus out of the little dirt ditch or whatnot, and Selena showing her friend off at a very expensive store, and the store owner was being a little, what Callie Blaze would say, a C word, you know, and she was like, all right, well, whatever, we're going to try this dress either way. And then it took one person who worked at that spot, given who knew it would be a Latino, right? And everybody would just hop on. I noticed how difficult it must be to basically direct a music video for a song, kind of like what Selena sings and all that stuff, and then have it interesting for people to look at. You got to highlight the editor on that one. The editor did a pretty good job as to making it interesting. You know, it's kind of hard to make it interesting. I mean, dude, seeing J-Lo as Selena, it's like, how close can you get to that, you know? Casting was great on that. They had other people chosen for the Selena role. I don't know the history of it, nor do I even care to try to want to figure that out. I'm here to talk about the film. Why we should see it, why we shouldn't see it. I feel like you should see this film. No person shouldn't see this film. It's a pretty good film. A couple of flaws in it. The cinematography is there. Again, how they were able to recreate Selena's performances, especially like the Houston Astrodome scenes, where, as we all know, I'm not sure if it's Selena's final show, but it's a big monumental show because she sold it out, right? And the Astrodome is, I think even at that time, was probably the biggest stadium you can fill up a seat for as far as like music is concerned, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, but it's huge. It's called the Astrodome for a reason, right? She filled it up, gave a great performance. Probably her greatest performance, really, because when you see that performance on YouTube, which is free, by the way, anybody can see it. I mean, you can see the views. Freaking AB, basically a producer. Like, he arranged the music, and he's like his dad's right-hand man, which is pretty dope. Again, family values, the American dream. Like, Abraham wants to own everything. He wants to own the legacy. He wants to do it through his people. He doesn't really want to touch outside sources because guess what? He got screwed over, and unfortunately it had to be the white man who screwed him over every time, every step of the way. Not this time. He's been waiting for this moment. He's got it. There's a scene where I think Selena's like recording, right? She's like recording music and all that stuff. And oh no. This was at a live outdoor show, and I think at this point Selena's already grown up. At least, you know, we see the J-Lo version of Selena, and I think there's like a music rep or some rep next to him, and he says something about Selena, like, man, like she can take off or whatever, and Abraham just kind of tells him, but at the same time he's like talking to himself, talking to the rep, talking to God, and talking to the audience at the same time, saying, we were been ready, man. We were been ready. We were ready since the get. And it just took this long for you to find us. Or find each other, right? Because obviously you develop a relationship. And you got Lupe Ontiveros playing Yolanda Saldivar, which is probably the most hated character. And to this day, man, like, it really just goes beyond the film. Like, nobody likes Yolanda Saldivar. I don't know who could like her. I mean, you would probably have to be locked up next to her if you really want to consider Yolanda Saldivar as a pleasant human being. I don't know. It's crazy seeing Lupe Ontiveros playing Yolanda. Plays a good Yolanda, obviously. I mean, it doesn't really look like her, but hey, it's the best you're gonna get, right? At least to your eyes, man. And you get to see the BS. And finally, this is where the part of the film where things get serious. Things are not so corny. They're like, where is this plot going? Is this just really about her life? Like, her life was a movie, literally. It was a movie. She literally had the ups and downs of being a musician, being in a family, trying to chase the American dream. And that's the thing about this film. And I know I keep saying American dream, but dude, when you look at this film, and especially at the fact that it's a Gregory Nava film, it's gonna touch on that subject of not only the importance of family, but how one family made it, and achieved that American dream. And it was, and it's crazy because it's not guaranteed. Even a life like Selena's was obviously not guaranteed. Sure, the Quintanillas are rich beyond their means, even to this day, has probably lived a pretty good, humbling life, considering, what they went through. You would think that they have it all, but they don't. They really don't. They have what they can probably grasp, in this reality at least, but they don't have Selena in their life. And I mean, yeah, she's the golden child and everything, the golden goose, pretty much put the family on the map per se. If it wasn't for her really, or the fact that the dedication that was instilled upon her through the family, through Abraham, like, yeah, um, it's devastating even to this day for them. I'm sure. I'm sure some people who don't even know Selena are still devastated at the fact that she's not around, because when you look at her background and everything, and then she wasn't even in her prime yet. She was barely like climbing as far as like music is concerned. Like she had the crossover, which is discussed in the film, how it's virtually impossible, and here it is. Selena did the impossible. She, as a woman, to make it in the music industry, which is a male-dominated industry, and not only that, to cross over Spanish music and English music, like, well, Spanish speaking and English speaking music. Again, this film about the American dream. The American dream is not guaranteed, even to the point where you think you have it, but it can all be taken away, or some parts of it can be taken away. But to them, to the family, and to us as people who listen to music, who are fans of Selena, a couple of flaws in this film. Um, I did like the subtext of Chris Perez and Selena Quintanilla, their love for each other, and how it caused a lot of inconvenience and a lot of strain to, I guess, their personal lives and then their professional careers. It could have, like, I don't know, it could have maybe killed her career. But then again, if it killed her career, she probably would have been alive. But obviously, we didn't get that type of outcome as far as where her life was going. And again, in the film, like, as corny as it might be, in some parts, honestly, like, when I watched the film, I actually skipped the music parts. I did, because I get it. You're watching a performance come to life, biographically speaking, from another who would be a very iconic pop star in her own right. Um, it just didn't bring anything to the film, at least for me, But like, it needs to be there. Something like that needs to happen. You gotta have performances when it comes to like music biographical films. You just have to. It's a thing. It's cool. Have it. Great. Keep it. But I think after seeing it so many times, I'm just like, I gotta skip this. I want to get to the nitty gritty of things, and you get to the nitty gritty of things. And one thing I want to add too is the young Selena. The whoever played her, did a really good job playing that Selena. And again, Gregory Nava, just in making sure that we are spoon fed dreaming, because that's what Selena wanted. Like, she wanted a nice house, she wanted a farm, she wanted to grow up and get married and have her own kids, have her own legacy. It's like Selena knew, And there's a scene which, cinematography wise, beautiful scene, like beautifully shot. And that's the thing about Gregory Nava too. Like, I like how realistic the lighting looks in this film. It doesn't look, I mean, you can tell when there are like a big bright lights being shined upon or whatnot, but when there are scenes where you can tell it's out in the open and you're using that natural light, or at least it appears you're using that natural light, he nails it. And he nailed it pretty well in the scene where the two sisters look at the moon, and then the younger sister looks at Selena, and she asks her, like, what are you doing up here? And Selena just gives her the whole spiel about, I'm just dreaming. I'm just looking at the moon, and I can feel like I can just touch it, even though it's so huge, it's so far away, and again, they're just giving those little gems of why Selena became who she was, like she was a dreamer. She was somebody who really just wanted the stardom as much as her dad wanted it, It's crazy because it took Abraham to push everybody, especially Selena. So the ending scene, man, like, I get it. I get why we didn't get a scene where Selena is approaching Yolanda, or we didn't get a scene where they're in the hotel room, and I get it because like, this film came out less than 3 years than when she passed away, and the wound obviously is still fresh. It's still fresh, and you know why it's fresh? Because you get to see it in the end of the film where there's a vigil, and what a nice touch by Nava, and I'm pretty sure it was discussed amongst the Quintanilla family because they did have a lot to do with the story. They did have a lot to do with the screenplay, as they should get a lot of say of it because hey, it's their daughter's life that they're gonna be talking about, right? It's gonna be on the screen. Millions of people are gonna watch it, even to this day, and it's cool to see all these fans like post Selena's life. They're still there. They still miss her. They still love her. It's a nice thing to see, and it's cool how it actually ends the film. I just kind of wish that I wish there was a scene that kind of led up to that, just to lead up to the not to the very given moment, but just a certain moment. I felt I was robbed from that. I felt like I get it too. I just get it. Like, no, it's too fresh. We can't see that, even though we never saw it. I don't want to relive it. I'm pretty sure the family doesn't relive it and all that stuff. But cinema pushes. Honestly, like if I don't know, if I had that if maybe if I had the say on that, I say, man, let's just shoot up to the moment. Up to the moment. You don't even have to include the gun. You can just like up to the moment. Up to where like before she gets in the door, and then boom. Then do whatever you gotta do. Do the montage and all that stuff, which was great. Good editing, good cinematography. I like how there's little things that Nava uses as far as like visions are concerned. Because throughout Selena's life, she would have these little visions, right? And obviously those visions would kind of give us a reminder what to expect later in the film, and we get to see it come to fruition in its own way. 3.5 out of 4 tokes. Watch Selena, written and directed by Gregory Nava. I felt like it could have been nominated for much more than just for J-Lo's actress, her acting role. I think Edward James Olmos should have had it. I think that for editing it should have been nominated. I think for cinematography it should have been nominated. It's not your typical Hollywood film. It really isn't. It's very rare for a film like Selena to really touch music fans. I mean, there's countless music documentaries and countless music autobiographies of all kinds of people, and it's great that Gregory Nava decided to take on something like this, because this is a challenge. Imagine getting a call or whatnot saying like, hey, you're gonna direct this film, but guess what, this is going on. This person just passed away this long ago. Like, can we even do this? Like, can we ethically do this stuff? And obviously, we gotta put ethics aside, right? Can we do this? And they did it. They did a good job at it for the most part. Again, a little corny on some parts. There's some parts that are like kind of like really corny, don't really add to the overall film. It just needed to be there just for filler talk. But I'm guessing, Warner Brothers wanted something pretty snappy and at a quick draw, and boom, we got it. Anyways, Gregory Nava, please watch it. Watch Mi Familia. Watch El Norte. Honestly, that's a film I'm gonna review very very soon. I hadn't seen it in a while, and I do remember how sad it is. Really, it's a again a film where it's chasing the American dream. You know, especially if you're an immigrant, like, and especially during the late '80s or early '80s. You know, immigrating from Guatemala to Los Angeles. And get to see that type of point of view of life then. You know, it's a tough film to watch because it's relatable. My name is Ray Salazar. Follow me at Morning Shot Films on YouTube. Um, Follow me at Instagram. Check out my website, morningshotfilms.co. I got more to go. I got the killing of a sacred deer. I got the Conjuring Last Rites, which probably be the last Conjuring film I'll ever see because I doubt they'll make another one. Um, what else am I reviewing? Let's just see. Air. Yeah, the Michael Jordan film that was directed by Ben Affleck, which to me is the most corniest Ben Affleck film he's ever directed because he plays the CEO of Nike. And I'm like, man, dog, like, couldn't you just take the back seat and let somebody else, like, let's just say a John C. Reilly. I'm pretty sure John C. Reilly would have nailed that fucking role. But whatever, right? You gotta have Ben Affleck with your Matt Damon, which I love. I love. I love me some Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. They won Oscars with Good Will Hunting at the age of 25, 27. Those are fucking goals. Stuff to reach towards to. But yeah, Ben Affleck, please take a seat. Shoot. What else am I reviewing, man? There's a lot that's been in my mind. There's a lot that I've seen. And I'm just like, you know what? I got to take a quick touch in it. I want to review Baby Boy. I've been meaning to review Baby Boy. Haven't reviewed it just yet. This is October. Happy October. A lot of scary films to review. I don't know what to choose, man. I mean, there's a lot of like horror stuff on HBO and all that stuff. I saw all the Conjurings. Maybe I should do all the Conjuring films. I went to see The Conjuring Last Rites, and for the most part, it sucked. But there's some kind of cool parts. But I'll tell you later on another podcast. Thank you.